We talk about buildings very casually today. Homes, apartments, offices, cities. We mention them as if they've always been here, as if this way of living is somehow natural. But if you pause for a moment and really think about it, there's an uncomfortable truth behind all of this. Modern architecture is not something humans have always had. It's actually very new. Skyscrapers, subways, bridges, underground spaces, dense cities, this entire way of living rests on one single material. Not steel, not glass, not design software. Cement. Without cement, modern architecture simply would not exist. That's not a slogan, it's a very literal statement. Before cement, humans built by stacking things together. Wood was joined piece by piece. Stone was piled block by block. Bricks were laid one layer at a time. These materials weren't bad, but they all shared the same limitation. They were always separate. And when things are separate, there are always gaps. Where there are gaps, there are weaknesses. That's why older buildings were almost always low, thick, and slow to build, not because people lacked imagination, but because the materials set a hard ceiling on what was possible. You could make walls thicker, but you couldn't make the entire structure behave like a single body. Cement changed that. At first, cement is nothing impressive, just a gray powder, lifeless and dull. But add water and something unusual happens. It doesn't soften, it doesn't dissolve, it hardens. And not just on the surface, it hardens all the way through. Even more importantly, cement doesn't come with a fixed shape. You give it a form and it accepts it. Walls, columns, floors, foundations. Buildings stopped being assembled and started being poured. This shift matters more than it sounds. When a building becomes a continuous whole instead of a collection of parts, the way forces move through it completely changes. Weight no longer sits on one beam or one stone. It spreads evenly across the entire structure. That's why tall buildings don't stand because one part is extremely strong. They stand because everything is working together. Cement plays a quiet but critical role here. It absorbs pressure. You press down on it, and it doesn't fight back. In fact, the more pressure it carries, the more stable it becomes. This is exactly what buildings need, because the greatest enemy of architecture isn't wind or rain, it's weight. Every floor added above increases the load below, day after day, year after year. Cement was made for that kind of burden. Of course, cement isn't perfect. It has a weakness. It doesn't like being pulled. Stretch it too much and it cracks. But instead of disqualifying cement, this flaw led to one of the most important partnerships in construction history. Steel handles tension. Cement handles compression. Neither tries to do the other's job. Reinforced concrete wasn't a stroke of genius, it was common sense. Each material does what it does best. That's when buildings could finally grow taller without relying on luck or courage. Not because engineers became reckless, but because the math finally worked. Still, strength alone wouldn't have been enough to change the world. What truly made cement indispensable was how deeply it changed the way people live. Cement is dense. Water struggles to get through it. Moisture stays outside. Cement is continuous. There are fewer gaps, less wind, less noise. Cement is heavy and slow to react to temperature changes. Cold doesn't rush in. Heat doesn't instantly soak through. Put these qualities together and something remarkable happens. For the first time in history, comfortable living became scalable. Before cement, buildings that were quiet, dry, warm in winter, and cool in summer were reserved for the few. Palaces, temples, fortresses. Ordinary people lived in structures that merely helped them endure the weather. With cement, that changed. Millions of people could now live in spaces that were stable, dry, quiet, and reliable. The impact on human behavior is deeper than we often realize. When people no longer have to fight cold, dampness, and noise every day, their energy goes elsewhere. Many things we call emotional problems are in reality symptoms of long-term environmental stress. Cement didn't heal people, but it removed a constant source of exhaustion. Homes stopped being just a shelter and became a place to recover. Zoom out and the effect becomes even larger. Cement is cheap. Its raw materials are everywhere. Its production is relatively simple. That means it doesn't just work once, it works at scale. One building can become a neighborhood can become a city. Population density becomes possible. Infrastructure becomes manageable. Subways, roads, tunnels, and utilities finally have something to anchor to. Modern cities didn't grow naturally. They were lifted, layer by layer, by cement. Behind every skyscraper, bridge, airport, and harbor, beneath the steel and glass, cement is always there, unseen, uncelebrated. It doesn't look impressive, it isn't glamorous, but it is dependable. From this perspective, modern architecture is surprisingly honest about human nature. It doesn't assume people will always be careful. It doesn't expect every generation to maintain everything perfectly. It assumes mistakes, laziness, neglect. So it builds stability into the structure itself. Once a building is finished, it can stand for decades, sometimes centuries, serving people who never think about what holds it up. This isn't idealism, it's realism. So when we say without cement there would be no modern architecture, we're not really talking about materials, we're talking about a way of life. Without cement, cities couldn't densify. Without density, modern society couldn't function. We like to think we live in a high-tech age, but in many ways, we live in the age of cement. Every time you return to a home that doesn't leak, that blocks the wind, that lets you sleep in silence, remember this: behind that sense of safety stands a quiet gray material doing exactly what it was designed to do. Cement isn't heroic, but it is reliable. And that reliability is what holds modern architecture and modern life together.